So, the stock Durock, and I do have a slight stretch on the suspension here on my Durock, not much. I don't know what the stock is supposed to be, but I have mine set at 89 millimeters. 89 millimeters. So that's my stock Durock. Did I measure that right? Let me do this again. I thought it was longer than that. Oh, I did do that wrong. Actually, no, I didn't. It is 89 millimeters. So 89 millimeters on the Durock. I have my Game RC Baby Fat Girl at 89 millimeters. Both are pretty much the same, give or take a hair. 89 millimeters. And then what I did just a little while ago, this is 114 millimeters from center of axle to center of axle. So 114 millimeter stretch on my R32, Tiny4x4 R32, designed by Dominic Widmer. I'm going to show what I had to do to get it to this point with the worm gear axles on it, because the worm gear axles do not mount the same as the stock Orlando axles, the normal axles. They are set up different. The mounting point for the upper is wider than the mounting point for the stock Orlando's. This part right here, that part right there is wider spaced. So what I've used here to stretch it is not what I originally intended. And I have a lot to say about this. This setup is not ideal yet. And the problem is going to be the shocks with these links. I'm going to start by saying that with the links that I have selected, which the front ones are shorter than the rear ones. I'm trying to give it a little more forward bias on the weight distribution by stretching the rear further than the front. But these shocks are not going to hold up the weight of the battery. Where'd I put that little motor? Right here. It's underneath the rat rod. It fell. I'm just going to use this high-speed motor. Set that on there. You can see it already. I mean, we'll throw the Furatech Lizard ESC on it. And then we'll throw, since I don't have a receiver handy, we'll just throw this TS0001 in it. And that should balance out to what it would be like with servos and everything in it. And it's not fully compressed yet. It's not at full droop. There's 3 to 4 millimeters per shock left, and I'll give it a press to show. It had that much to go. So I already measured it. I'm not going to pull it up with a ruler or nothing, but at full droop, this is 6 millimeters from my desk. So given the electronics in it and everything, it would sit about right here. and that's like 8-9 millimeters, give or take, and it's just not gonna perform right sitting that low. I don't think. I will test it out though, because I'm trying to find limits and usage for these axles with this chassis, changing different lengths, different suspension components, complete, shocks, everything. And I do have some of the taller shocks. I just don't have the taller external spring shocks for the XO2. I think they're 40 or 42 millimeter. I don't remember exact. But I've changed the springs in them, so those might not do this any good. Plus, they're in my monster truck. But those external spring shocks they'll hold it up. They'll hold it up, and I'm liking the stance right now with it sitting just like this. If it stays like this, the pinions are straight, the front's straight, the rear is tilted up just a little, and at full droop, they're not too bad. They angle down a little, but the skid plate would be really low at that point, so it would make sense. The suspension links that I have on it, the rears are longer. I did not wait on the mailman to deliver the PO2 links that I ordered. The rear lower links are PO2 Tundra links. The rear upper links are PO1 Raptor links. The front lower links are PO1 Raptor links, lower links. The upper front links are XO1 and R32 lower links. So I have a mix going on here to get it to 114 millimeters, and yeah, I mean, it's going to bring more of the weight towards the front by stretching the back out further like this, which should help it in performance. And the articulation is pretty insane. I'll do 2 stacks here real quick. These are the 33 millimeter GK24 tires, and it's like they're not even there. There's no problem. It has room to go. So put those off to the side. These are the No Name brand 38 millimeters on the R32 wheels, and these are quite a bit wider. I measured them earlier and I can't remember what it is. It's pretty wide though. It's a pretty tall stack. It's close. It's close. It's just a few millimeters off of my desk, like maybe 4 at the most. And that's full compression on this shock in the front, full compression on the rear back here. So if you had your wheels turned, it'd be even closer. I mean, and the rear is not much different. Flip the wheel up. Tire. Yeah, it's not much different. So, articulation beast, so to speak. The only problem is going to be the shocks, holding the weight up. With these longer links, it's really easy to do high clearance links. So that's probably going to be a thing coming. I just don't want to mess up a set, and I have broken some before trying to bend them. So you got to do it really careful, and that's where my notched needle nose pliers come in handy. It gives me really good control of the bends. So all in all, with this length, I really like it, but it might not work. If I did the PO2 links in the front, it's going to throw the weight balance off too bad, in my opinion. And there's no point in going past 114 millimeters on this. I really don't see a point in it. The closer you bring this front axle to the chassis, the more forward weight distribution you're going to have. I've got the Metal Gear servo on the way, so that's going to put some weight up here. And then I'm also going to do brass in the front to give it some weight. But with that said, if I brought this back in with the stock links, I lose a little articulation. So I'm going to keep this set up with the links and try to make this work, because it has a lot of articulation. I'll show it from the front. I'm sure if I did some other things different, I could get more out of it. But yeah, seems like it'll be a little spider for sure. The links that come on it are fine if you want to build it stock. If you're going to change to the skull worm gear axles, you have to do something different with your links, because the upper links are so far out and the pinion is still pointed at the ground, front and rear. No matter what I did, I could not get them adjusted to where they worked. So the upper links would have to be changed. So no, that's kind of all I've got to say about it right now. I'm sure I'll mess around with it some more, because I'm not satisfied with the shocks squatting as bad as they do with weight on it. I do like the belly dragger idea, but it's not going to have enough play in the suspension for it to work out. And I did break wheels this morning and an axle. My Gammy RC Baby Fat Girl with the high-speed motor in it broke the pin out of the C-hub right here, so I had to put a screw in it. But before I did that, I went ahead and put the rear R32 and front C-hubs from the R32 on here. In other words, I took my XL1 apart again. I'm never going to build that thing, I guess. I don't know. I just needed to make a 74 millimeter wide axle. That's it. I just needed to make another wide axle. My other axle turned out to be this one, my tow truck right here. That's 76 millimeters, and I'm not sure how I got it that wide. This one's 74, so whatever works. So I've now got a widened steerable axle, and I'm thinking I'm going to build another one and put those in something as a pair. Not in this. This is gonna stay like this for a minute until I get another set of these aluminum axles, because when I do the four-wheel steer on this, it'll still have these axles. I'll just have to put another one of these on it, and then I'll have two of the rears to figure out what to do with. Maybe I'll figure out how to widen those. Who knows? I'm sure it's doable easily. You just trim it down, same as the front, and make it work. Which that would be a wide track beast. But when I sent my Gammy RC with the high speed motor off my desk at full speed, I broke my wheel. This is a little piece right at the center hub area. The original resin that Don was using to make these wheels is like glass, and you can see it on the inside of this brake and on the wheel itself. This stuff, I can't get it. This stuff just shatters like glass. I don't know if you guys can see that. My camera hates me tonight. Well, that's good enough, I guess. Anyway, they break easy, and that's the old wheels. You can see right there is where the center hub area broke out in there, and this is the other broke wheel that I broke months ago, last year, whatever. But also I noticed with the high-speed motor, it was chipping out inside the axle hub area. All four of them, all four wheels were literally chipping out. So they were really wobbly. They didn't want to stay on right. So it's now got the second variation. And at first, I thought Don primered these. These are black. So these are not primered. That is just the bare print. It's a little narrower than what was on it. It's the same geometry as the Duroc and X01 width. And the problem with these wheels versus the deep dish ones that I broke, they're narrower, so my wheel weights don't fit. These are wide wheel weights, specifically made for those wheels out of bearings. So anyway, this works now. Brand new front axle in it. That's technically this whole setup is out of the, minus the steering links, the whole front axle is out of the R32 original kit. And I used the rear R32 axle and the broken C-hub from my Duroc, Gammy RC Baby Fat Girl, to make this. So, and I've still got one more wide axle rear that's staying in here. I did have the narrow OH35A01 Jeep axle in this, and it just was not made for that. I never did want it in there, but I had to, the PO2 links that are on here, on the front, or the rear, they were on here. So that was another thing I pirated from it. So anyway, we've got a 114 millimeter wheelbase with these links, and I like it. It'll make more sense with rear steer, but I am gonna goof around with it like this for a little bit before I do the rear steer. Shocks will have to be changed. I don't see any way of these shocks being feasible without being completely belly dragged, bottomed out pretty much all the time. And yes, I am literally touching it so much that I'm messing up my paint job. It's dull all the way through the center right here, shiny everywhere else. So I'll give it a little wet sand and second coat, brighten it back up, and then get it to cure fully before I mess it up completely. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say, so we'll see where this goes. At least now I have an idea of what length for drive shafts. I'm also looking at this shape here. I need to make an aluminum skid plate for it to protect the 3D printed and the bottom of the chassis. And I'm thinking I'm just going to go outside to outside all the way around. I need to figure out how to make some for the axles. So it's nice and straight. Looking at it straight above, everything's the way it needs to be. Just can't get it to. Now I might be able to get it to work with the flint lighter striker springs, but I think it would limit it too much. It's going to keep it from compressing fully, so I don't really like that idea. I'm thinking the softer springs and the external spring shocks for the XO2 rear suspension might be the way to go with it. If a person's stretching it, if you're leaving it stock, then leave it stock and just go with the stock geometry parts. But this is not going to work completely. It looks awesome. It's kind of a ridiculous stretch compared to a Durock or a stock Durock, stock XO1. So we'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching. Y'all have a good night.